Well, then again, I believe that everybody is entitled to their own opinion, but I don't think that anything that a woman can do, especially by her choice, can degrade her. So if she chooses to do it out of her own free will, and if she sees a benefit more than a setback, because most of the women that join this kind of in the sex working industry, they do it out of necessity more than choice. But even then, doesn't, it's not enough to degrade them, you know? So no, I don't think it can. And I don't think it does.
Thank you for your answer, Ria. Dominic, do you mind answering? Do you think that sex work degrades women?
Well, sex work is work, you know. I don't think anybody that felt that their job is degrading them, I don't think they would do that job. You know what I'm saying? And for my personal opinion, you know, like everybody has their own opinion, and most of the time, the people that have these opinions about sex workers and think that it's a degrading job or whatever are the same people that are the consumers of the industry as well. So, like, hip, like hypocrite much, you know, it's yeah, you know, you know, it kind of makes
Yeah.
you think like at the end of the day, you're the one saying, I'm in the wrong. Oh, how can you marry a person ABC, but person ABC is driving whatever car, and you're walking to your job, or you're taking the bus to your job. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's just like levels to a lot of things that I disagree with, that the general populace has against sex work, and a lot of things about the industry as well that just doesn't make sense to a point. You know what I'm saying? So like you, I don't know. Yeah, it's quite an annoying question to think that people will be judgmental towards women when they're this when the and most of the time it is men that do these things. You do get the occasional woman that disagrees with these types of things, but most of the time it is also men that are the main consumers of sex work, whether it's going to be pornographic content or whatever it is going to be. The main consumers are going to be men at the end of the day. And also, like, going back to what Lisa said in terms of, like, you know, like the religious side of everything, I also I just have like a big thing. Like, it's like, you know, there's a whole bunch of things that the religious, especially within the Christian community, and if you go way back into the history of Christianity, especially within, you know, Roman Catholic, and looking at how the upbringing of these people are, you realize there's a lot of perversion in the way that they handle things and the way that they are punishing people. And it's not just within Christianity. I mean, you look at Middle Africa, Middle Eastern Africa, you look at Northern Africa as well. You get Islam and Muslim communities that also they practice same these same things, these same sexual punishments. You go into the realm of Asia and Southern Asia. You have Indian people that practice, you know, even even though it's their relation, and most of the time it doesn't lead to sexual relations. You get people that are forced into young marriages at the age of 14, and they have to be childbearing human beings. I know we're moving away from obviously sex work itself, but in the sense of it being viewed incorrectly by these religious figures, they themselves also need to check themselves based on what they're saying. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, you can't say that this is wrong, but then at home you practice these things. So where's your moral compass in all of this? Where somebody is like, you're paying for this service, it is a consented service, and yet you do these things that are not consented, and all of these things are just like, it's religion, it's, you know, cultural, all these things. It's yeah. There's also a hypocrisy in a lot of the way that people just view sex work, and I hate that. I just hate. I hate hypocrisy, especially when it comes
Yeah.
from gents, especially.
Yeah, no, definitely. Thank you for your answer, Dominic. Very, very well said. There was a question in the chat room. I think it was for you. Yeah, they asked, so are you saying that the individual decides if the job is degrading or not? That was the question in the chat room for you, Dominic. I think.
Well, yeah, I mean, if you control your own opinion and your own perception of everything. Like, if I think, let's do a dumb example. If I think Man United is the best team in the world, but you think Chelsea is the best team in the world, we're both right, because it's an opinion. It's just what you think versus what I think. So you can't let other people's opinion influence what you say, because at the end of the day, it's still going to be your truth. So if you let other people's truths affect you and degrade you, I mean, at the end of the day, that's not really affecting them. They did it. They did what they wanted to do. They wanted to hurt you. They wanted to say these things about you. So at the end of the day, that effect is there, and whether or not you're going to want to accept that effect or not is basically up to you. But yeah, I mean, it's definitely up to the person themselves who are going to be rendering these services.
Okay, thank you for that answer, Dom. I see Lita cut, but he will probably join soon, but we can move on to the next question in the meantime. Yeah, okay. Anyways, next question is, do you think that the criminalization of sex work is an attempt to oppress women? Okay, I see Lita joined now. Let me just repeat the question. Then we're moving on to the next question, and that is, do you think that the criminalization of sex work is an attempt to oppress women? Ria, can you answer that for me, please?
I think yes and no. Wait, I'm sorry, can you repeat the question?
Okay, so the question is, do you think that the criminalization of sex work, like sex work being illegal, is an attempt to oppress women?
I think yes. And then I did some research, so that's why I said yes and no. So because of the stigma surrounding sex work, so like if a woman above the age of 18, she decides to become a stripper, most people would see her and deem her as promiscuous or uneducated, that she doesn't respect herself. And because there are no formal unions for sex workers, they may not be legally protected. So for example, they are not legally protected, and then they might not get medical aid. So in that way, yes, it is a form of oppression. But then again, the sex industry is unorganized. So at the moment, there may not be people who see the line between consenting prostitution and pornographic film, and they might not see the difference between that and human and child trafficking. So like, for example, in India, there's an estimate of 30 million commercial sex workers, of which 40% of those are children. And since we are in a developing country, accepting and acknowledging sex work will be a lot harder compared to other developed countries where it's sort of more normalized to that your neighbor is like a stripper, and then she comes over to your house to ask to babysit her kid and you're just okay with it. Or if your friend has an OnlyFans account. So in a way where it's not oppressive, I think it could be protective. So that's why I said yes and no.
Okay, I get you. Thank you for your answer, Ria. Alita, do you mind answering for me, please?
Sorry about leaving earlier. My network was doing nonsense.
It's okay.
Personally, I don't think it's the criminalization is, on women. I don't think it oppresses women personally. I think I don't want to go back to the religious point, but like on a moral basis of like society and those people that, goody goodies, I feel like it's a more of a criminal oppression of the actual work, you know what I mean, of the activity, of the actual industry. I think it's more oppressing that than just women. Do you know what I mean? I feel like there's a whole, movement against the entire industry as a whole, like the work,
Yeah.
stripping, everything that is in the industry. I don't think it's directed at women per se, but just like at the entire industry as a whole. And the act,
Okay.
that's just my opinion.
Okay. Thank you, Lita. Chanel, do you mind answering for us?
I just feel like, okay, I agree with what Lita and Ria said, but like I just feel like in the sense of it's their bodies and it's their lives and what they want to do with it is up to them. I feel like it shouldn't be up to a government or a society to decide if this is right or if that is wrong, because I mean, like, we are adults, we know what is right and what is wrong. And if we are going into something like that, it was a conscious decision that led us into, okay, we are going to be doing sex working because this is how things are going at the moment and whatever. So I feel like people shouldn't, how can I say, they shouldn't put that limit on people about like what they can do and what they can't do with their bodies. Because I mean, if they are comfortable and if they agree with it and if it's something that they want to do, then no one should actually say anything about it, like not even the government and so on. Obviously, there are like standards and boundaries and things, but I mean, like in general, it's not up to the government to decide what we can and can't do with our bodies. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you, Chanel. Dominic, do you mind answering, please?
Yeah, sure. It's a tough question to answer, to be honest, because of the ambiguity of how sex work is currently in today's day and age. So just like Ria, I have a yes and a no for the actual answer itself. My no would basically be firstly for government. Well, yeah, the big man upstairs is not getting his money. It's not regulated. So he's not getting his money, he's not getting his tax. So let's just say you're opening an OnlyFans account and you pull 15,000 Rand within 1 week. 15,000 Rand, you make a withdrawal of your OnlyFans and you deposit it straight into your bank account. That is tax-free. The government didn't get any of that money at all. So a large part of it, personally, I believe, is just because that's not bringing anything to the economy. That's what I believe, that it's just government puts this criminalization on it, saying that you're not allowed to be doing A, B, and C because you basically were not getting money from it at the same time. On the flip side of the coin, you do get to a point, right, where as we were talking earlier, and Jess made that remark of prostitution being sex work, and obviously we clarify the entire situation, but at the same time, the criminalization is coming from the point of prostitution, where it's in the illegal sector, where not all women are, not, let's not even say women, that's just wrong. Not all prostitutes, male or female, whatever race or whatever gender you are, you're not necessarily going to be getting paid with money. Some people, they face these abuse, but also drugs get involved. So I believe that there is also the criminalization aspect is there to oppress not just women but sex workers as a whole. And yeah, I don't know. I know the difference. I see CISA saying sex workers and not prostitution, but because of the criminalization, if you look at it from government perspective, it is also it is also kind of seen in that sense, because of this generalization that takes place. But my original answer would basically just be no, it's not oppressive. The man just wants his money. He just wants to be paid. You're not getting you're taking that whole 15K away. And yeah, the government's not getting anything. I saw something isn't OnlyFans. So government actually doesn't tax you for OnlyFans. Because because your entire account is held under OnlyFans, you don't get taxed. They just take their percentage and you keep your percentage. So that's the situation. So there's no tax. The only time where tax would be seen or coming into play is when you do that withdrawal and deposit the money into your account. So there's no government intervention between those two steps up until the money is already in your account. And also it can create money laundering, because money laundering, you can just keep that money. You can basically just withdraw that money, keep it in your shoebox inside of your room and just have it there forever, you know? So I think
Yeah.
it's more of a government monetary thing, yeah.
I see. Thank you. Thank you for your answer, Dominic, and just for clearing that up. I also wasn't too sure how it, works and everything. But yeah, nobody wants to add on anything, right? No. Okay, moving on to the next question. Okay. Do you think that the government should rather create opportunities for, people, sex workers, to get out of the sex work industry as opposed to legalizing it? Does everyone
Hey,
understand my question?
I think is that not the last question?
Oh yeah, it is. I just swapped it out, but it's I'm gonna go to I'm gonna answer question. I'm gonna ask the other one still. I just thought I'd leave that for last, but yeah.
Okay.
So I'm just gonna repeat it quickly. The question was, do you think the government should rather create opportunities for women, not women, for women, men, transgender individual, for people, for sex workers to get out of the sex work industry as opposed to legalizing it? I see that Chanel's hand is up. Chanel?
Okay, I feel like, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, I feel like it's pointless giving an option like that where we ask, okay, create opportunities instead, and then these people will get out of the industry. Because if you think about it, the unemployment rate is super high. It's ridiculous. So it isn't guaranteed that these people are actually going to find placements in proper jobs like 9-to-5s and whatever. So when you think of sex working, it, like we said, it can be an occupation or it can be a hustle to like make money. People are going this route because the normal route, like working a normal job and getting taxed by the government and all of those things aren't working. Like they aren't finding placement in jobs like that. So now they are depending on finding other ways like sex working. So my argument is that it's it's pointless. I feel like they should just legalize sex work and then work around all of that. Obviously regulating it, these boundaries and all of that, but I feel like we shouldn't even be asking the government to create opportunities because we're basically speaking to a brick wall. And that's why women, men, transgender people rather prefer that, okay, you know what, I'm just going to become a sex worker because I feel like it's on my own terms, it's much easier, and I don't have to deal with poverty and all of that. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you for your answer, Chanel. That was really well said. Lita, do you mind answering that for me?
Personally, I don't think I feel like it's the people's decision, the ones that are in the industry, whether or not they want to indulge in those other opportunities, or would they rather just get the government to legalize the industry that they want to be a part of? Because everyone has a choice. Okay, well, you should have a choice in terms of what you want to do with your life and where you want to make money and how. Yeah, well, so I don't think the government creating new opportunities for them should not enable them to still legalize or make, you know, sex work and something normal, you feel. So nah.
Okay, sure. Yeah. Thank you for your answer, Lita. Maria, do you mind answering?
Because most women in the industry, they more of a get into this industry more over as a I have now the option, like a necessity, then this is totally exactly what I want to be when I grow up, you know. Even if that's their choice, you know, it's totally okay. So this is mainly because, like how Chanel mentioned, because of the unemployment rate in the country and because of the need for educational encouragement in the school system. And because it's a lot harder now to get into university and get a entry-level job with a living minimum wage than it was 30 years ago. So in a perfect utopian world, like how Chanel mentioned, they can fix the unemployment rate first and then make sure that learners are getting their education's worth. So they go to school, they get provided with teachers, and just to make sure that those who are struggling educationally make it through and pass, and then so that they can get educated in university if that's their choice, and when they do get a job, they can get a living minimum wage. Because also you find that a percentage of the people that enter into the sex work industry, they do it as a side hustle as well because their day jobs don't offer them enough money. So like I said earlier, because sex work is taboo, like how Lita and Dom have mentioned, because of the religious views of like lingering homophobia and transphobia or whatever, legalizing it may be seen as like almost blasphemous, you know. And that could be another barrier because once legalized, so even if it's legalized, the alternative to legalizing it or decriminalizing it is licensing it. And even when that happens, the workers would still feel discriminated against and biased against on the basis of like their identity and their choice. And they may feel externally degraded, which could infringe on their privacy as well. But if it's not legalized or decriminalized, then the sex workers will continue to be exploited as they already are, and then they will continue to be endangered. So I think they should, in a perfect utopian world, if it were possible to just fix the unemployment crisis and the educational system, and to ensure that people get living minimum wages, then yeah, that could be a possibility that they could get out of the industry and live, be at less of a risk to be discriminalized and biased and personally and individually infringed.
Thank you. Thank you for your answer, Ria. Very well said. Dominic, do you mind answering?
Yeah, sure. I just want to say Chanel's answer was amazing. I just love the way that she actually answered the last question. I totally agree. Like I totally agree with that. I mean, that's it actually just stepped on what you said earlier about it being empowering itself. But in terms of whether government should even do anything right now, no, I don't think that the government should do anything. I mean, they're already being misplaced funds in a lot of different sections and areas. There have already been all of these works. There's been tons and tons and tons and tons and tons and tons. We can talk about all of the different implementation that government has done to try and improve the unemployment rate, you know. So I'm just basically gonna stick to what I said initially with regards to the registration of these businesses, because that's what they are. It's a business. They shouldn't do anything. Put them in the legal system, put them in the register of businesses. Having them just be there is already just going to boost the economy. They don't have to do anything. Like when you have a monitoring of these works, you know, like having monitoring and having the tax man paid, and having all of these things done, we're already going to be now boosting other areas of which is going to be unemployment. The job creation that's coming from these businesses now being registered is already reducing unemployment. All of these things will be reduction of unemployment. And at the end of the day, knowing South Africa, they're going to fuck it up anyway. If something is implemented, if something is introduced, somehow, some way, some corrupt official is going to fuck it up. They're going to try to steal money. They're going to want to do something to not make this thing work when it was working as it is. South African government officials and corrupt officials like to fix things that aren't broken already. So just move them into the private sector and just leave them be. Just let them grow. Let them do their thing. You know, you get people that are just proficient in what they do and they're just good at what they do. And I think that sex workers are great at what they're doing. So just having them, just moving them into the system and having them do what they do, that's it. That's all that needs to happen. I feel like government should just actually stay away from most of the private sector when it comes through to new reintroductions or introductions of these specific industries into the actual system itself. But yeah, government should stay away from sex work at all costs.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for that answer, Dominic. Very, very well said. Just facts. But moving on to the last question. The last one is, do you think that legalizing sex work would create more harm or more good? Lita, do you mind answering that for me, please?
To be honest, we can't really say because it hasn't been done there. But from what I think and what I anticipate, I don't think there could be any harm in it if it's done properly according to like the proper stipulations. Like everything Dom said, if they do it similar to those levels, then it shouldn't cause any harm whatsoever, unless the government, they get corrupt and stuff, whatever. But yeah, I don't see any harm in it. Whether it's gonna be good, good is like people are gonna make money freely, so that's a good thing, and they're gonna be protected, and like proper, So yeah, I think it would do more harm. You're more good than harm. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Lisa, for your answer. Chanel, you can answer. So your hand is up.
Okay, I agree with what Lita is saying, and that was actually my argument as well. Because if you look at it in like from this perspective of like sex working in general, legalizing it is basically making it safer for them. Because I don't know if you guys know, but like there are like sex workers that are scared to move around like freely with like, how we all know there's like these certain spots that they always say you'll find like prostitutes there and stuff like that. And there are people that are in the sex working industry that are scared to like walk around with protection and so on, because if they get stopped or if they get fined or they even get arrested because of what they're doing, because it's illegal. And I mean, legalizing that puts them in such a good place, because then they are able to get, like legal protection, healthcare, things like that. They can move around freely and safely. And so I just took the argument from that perspective, as in like sex working in like the sex worker in general. It will be very beneficial and good to them if sex work should be legalized, because then immediately the industry becomes safer for them, because right now it's not. It's something that they are doing, and they don't want to stop, because I mean it's the only way of getting by, and it's something that they want to do, etc. But like if you think of it in a way of, if the government legalizes it, so many things will change. Like it might even become, the industry itself will even grow, because people will realize that they are protected and that there are lawyers and stuff that will fight for them, etc., etc. So yeah, that was my point of the argument.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for your answer, Chanel. Ria, do you mind answering for me, please?
Yes. If regulated, then yes, the industry would, because it operates under a shadow economy, and because we operate under capitalistic regime, if I can say, my worry is that workers may be exploited for their work and they may not earn the profit that they deserve, that they work hard for, and they may be put to work in some awful and inhumane conditions and may not be compensated for it, because if they can do it to nurses and waiters, and if billionaires can do it to their employers, then there's nothing stopping it from happening to sex workers as well, perhaps in even worse conditions than what is legal now in the normal, any like retail and hospitality industries. So especially since it's taboo and workers may be more reticent, like more not willing to come forward about the truth of what they do, about their occupation, they may be excluded from protection as well, even more so than they are now. The protection that comes from existing labor laws. So once it becomes legalized, they won't be protected at all. So it'll work well, like Milani mentioned in the comments. I forgot what he mentioned, but there was something that I agreed with. So it'll work well for who it works well for, but it accounts for human error as well. Bad things can happen to those. It could be worse to what's already happening now, you know?
Yeah, I totally understand. Thank you for your answer, Ria. Dominic, yeah, this is the last one.
Yeah, I think some great points are actually being made within the chat section. I feel like our listeners are giving great answers as well. I mean,
Yeah, definitely.
it's the like, I like what Vic's saying. With regards to we're also kind of being hypocritical as to the way that we're trying to go about this. We're saying that government should legalize this, government should protect this, but then at the same time we're saying no, but government doesn't do any of these things. It's a hard question to answer, to be honest with you, and I really don't have an answer for it. Even though I could go on about it, I could speak about it, but I really don't have a straightforward answer for you. I feel like it would literally be not necessarily. I mean, we could as a country have a legislation, have these regulatories put into place and monitoring of all of these things that are done. Once that's done, though, you're essentially a business now. You essentially work in a specific way based on these regulations. The issue now that you're going to be having is how protected and how is the community going to be working together to protect each other? You know what I'm saying? Because at the end of the day, it's going to be up to the community as well. If you're gonna have a business, if you're gonna have a sector created, if you're gonna have these services being rendered, you also need to have the adjacent put into place as well. And you get bright people with bright ideas and bright mindsets about the how these things can be put into place, such as security measures, such as people having rights, such as unions. You have people that will create these things, and we you just have to look about things optimistically at the end of the day. So it's literally just dependent on the community and the support that they receive from their peers and the support that they will receive from family and friends, even though at the end of the day it's mainly going to be about the community itself. But I mean, yeah, if we as people that want the country to thrive in a specific way and want these things and people to live openly and how they want to be, you have to get it and back these things at the end of the day. So I really can't answer the question of how it's going to be impacted.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for your answer,
Cool.
Dominic. I don't think that there are any more questions. The meeting is going to end like cut soon. So yeah, okay, no questions, right? I think we can close off. Thank you to everybody that joined. Thank you so much to my panel members. And yeah, until next time. Bye everyone.